And welcome, Finger Lakes basketball fans, to the Upstate Hoops podcast on FingerLakes1.tv. It's Thursday, January 9th, 2014, and this is episode number 7 of Season 3. And we're coming at you live from the FingerLakes1.com studios in downtown Seneca Falls, New York. I'm Jim Sinacropi, along with my co-host, Matt Verke. How you doing tonight, Verk?
Doing good, Jim. How are you?
Fantastic. A little January thaw taking place right now, I think.
Yeah, feels a little better than Monday and Tuesday and Wednesday of this week. So
last Thursday night when we were here, it was a huge snowstorm and free. The motor race, the 31st lap guys before us, they couldn't make it.
Oh, really?
But we were here. You know, that's how we roll. Tonight we'll be talking with Jake Slobe, who is now. First of all, Jake, am I saying that right?
Yep.
Okay, good, because we've been saying it for 2 years now.
Yeah.
And so tonight I'll be talking with Jake Slobe, who's obviously in studio all the way from Red Creek. And Jake's been filling up box scores in the Wayne County League this year, and we'll talk to him about his junior season and the competition in Wayne County. The Upstate Hoops podcast is brought to you by Generations Bank. Generations of service for over 140 years. Visit them online at mygenbank.com and check out their new mobile banking app in the iPhone or Android app stores. And also by Red's Place, serving great lunches daily in downtown Seneca Falls. Come on down and watch all the big games on one of their 10 flat-screen TVs, and check them out online at menshalloffame.com. And Seneca Meadows Landfill, responsible waste management for the next generation. See how they do it by watching their videos at senecameadows.com. And, you know, anybody who lives around here that is kind of interested in, you know, how they manage the waste and the recycling and all the activity that goes on out there, they are pretty informative videos at senecameadows.com. We kind of just read that every week, but
right.
I'm hoping people.
It's like a whole new world back there. I had to go back there one day, and it's just like a little city back there almost with all the traffic and everything.
Yeah, no matter how you feel about it, it's an amazing operation they got there, and those videos kind of take you inside. So, Jake, thanks for taking the drive, about a half-hour drive from Red Creek to Seneca Falls, and fresh off a 30-point outing last night, and I think 29 before that, and we talked a lot to Zach Young, at head coach of Lions, and some Lions players we had in here last week, and we had Cam DeSanto and Jomaine Bogans from Clyde in here. These are guys that you go against in the Wayne County League. And Red Creek against Lions, 1-point loss, beating Clyde at halftime. And I said, what's up in those games? And they all said the same thing. Jake Slobe just made every shot.
Yeah, well...
Are you a shooter? Is that your number one thing?
Yep. Yeah.
And spot up shooter, 3-point?
Yeah, 3-point shooter. I like to pull up too in mid range. And
so you play like the 2-guard? Yeah,
I'm R2.
Okay, no kidding. Because, you know, for 2 years now we've been seeing the name and seeing the scores and hearing people talk about you. But, you know, how would you describe your game? You're obviously a little more than just a shooter to be putting up the kind of numbers that you've been putting up.
I don't know. I like to shoot, obviously. But I like to get to the rim, too, and attack and get the foul line, draw fouls. I like to get offensive rebounds. I enjoy that a lot.
And you're 6'2", so that puts you about 2-3 inches taller than most of the shooting guards in the Wayne County League. And so you able to use that to your advantage, too?
Yeah, when if they're in man and smaller defenders on me, I go to the post, and my coach runs through plays to put me in the post and stuff on them.
Coach Grimshaw.
What was the Lions game? You had a ton of foul shots, didn't you?
I went 12 for 13 in that game.
So, yeah, obviously get some easy points in there at the foul line, you know.
Well, for Lions, what kind of defense was Lions playing?
Some of the time they went to a 2-3 a little bit, and I got put at the high post for that. And then they went man. They went box and one a couple of times.
Do you remember who was guarding you in the box and one and in the man? I bet it would be DJ Long.
Yep.
Was it DJ?
That's who it was, yeah.
So a little size advantage even on DJ, and you get to the line. So was he posting you up then when you were playing man?
Yeah. I got to post him up a little bit.
Okay. Now, Verk, Red Creek didn't have a varsity basketball team 2 years ago, Jake's freshman year.
Okay.
And
So are you a senior now or just a junior?
No, I'm a junior.
Junior. Okay, nice.
that's why I was thinking, next year, not saying that this year's out of the question
Right.
when they played so great against Lions and they had such a great first half against Clyde, but this is a team that that next year might be a favorite, heading into the season.
Yeah, obviously, we keep track of all the scores and everything, and just seeing how close, Lions and Clyde have kind of been last couple of years the top two teams in the league, and like we talked about earlier, he kind of he had Lions right on the ropes and gave Clyde a great first half. Do you guys feel like a lot more confident now, being going from having no varsity teams to compete with the top teams in the league?
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, that's what our coach preaches. You just have confidence. We can play with anybody now. I mean, and that some of the guys maybe didn't buy into that right off the bat, but once we started getting into those games and competing with them, my teammates got a lot more confident too.
Right. And not to look ahead, but obviously you're going to compete this year, but do you bring a lot of guys back next year?
Yeah, we're only losing 2 seniors.
Nice.
Yeah.
Now, tell us about some of the other guys on the team. You told me before we went on there that you got a few sophomores that contribute and a few juniors. Talk about your teammates.
Well, our starting 5, we have a senior. He's our main post player. He's bigger. He's about 6'4", 6'5". He can rebound. He can finish too a little bit. And then we have another sophomore. He's a forward. He's about 6'3", athletic. He gets a lot of rebounds. And then there's me and 2 other juniors that start. Our point guard, he's quick. He can distribute. He can shoot when he wants to.
Mm-hmm.
And then we have an off guard, another one. He's mainly a shooter.
What's their names?
Ethan Rocher is our off guard.
Okay.
Griffin Klein is our point guard.
Okay.
Our center is Brandon Lozier, and the sophomore, our other forward is Willie Meyer.
Okay, so the future, looking bright.
Yeah, no doubt. I got to ask you, do you play soccer?
No.
It's like a sin in Red Creek, isn't it?
Yeah, I used to, though. But
Did they win sectionals this year, the soccer team?
no, they lost in the semis.
Oh, they did, okay.
It's 2 years ago they won. They beat Naples in a game we webcast on Finger Lakes One Sports, actually, down in Cohocton. And our producer, Jeremy Hunt, was on the camera. Pouring rain, about 40 degrees, on top of a press box. 20-mile-per-hour winds.
I watched a little bit of that game.
Well, your coach, Jamie Grimshaw, Coach Grimshaw, what's it like playing for him? What's a practice like?
Very intense. He likes to we do first half of practice, or mainly 3/4 practice, just defensive stuff, defensive drills, and transition stuff. Just we work on our defenses, man, zone, and then press.
What about what classification are these guys in this
They
year?
are in Class C1, so they're in with Minders. I got the brackets up here right now. They're a 5 seed. So, 4-4. There's only now there's, what do we got? We got
Bloomfield in there, right?
Yeah, we got only 3 teams with a winning record in the whole class. You got Bloomfield 7-2, ER 7-2. How'd you guys do against ER this year?
Well, we got down early to them by a little bit, but then we made a run the second half.
But not a bad game, right?
Yeah.
And then Ganonda's 5-4. And then
after a loss to Lions last night.
Early Kyle just 3-4. Then Red Creek's right there at the 5 with at the 5 seed right now with 4-4 record.
And you've evened up your record at 4-4. I think at one point you were 1-4, maybe 2-4. Now
we were 2-4.
So that's pretty good now to get back to 500.
Yeah.
And it looks like next you have Ganonda.
Yep, we play Ganonda.
Another C1 team, and you're going on the road, but that's got to be a good game. Maybe get one game above 500 and get on with your season. And it doesn't get any easier after that. It's at North Rose, and you got to deal with Big Chris Dean. You played against Chris last year, obviously, and
we have. Yep.
And what's your take on this guy? He's another guy we haven't seen in person, but we hear a lot about.
He's good. He can shoot as well as go inside, and you got to box him out. Obviously, he likes getting on the boards.
And then look at this, Verk. Then they get Williamson at home, and then ER, Clyde, and at Lions. I mean, the Wayne County League's tougher than we thought it was going to be heading into the year.
That's what I was going to mention. Ganonda had some nice wins this year. Red Creek is much improved, and Lions and Clyde are getting a lot more closer games. Lions had to come from behind to beat Ganonda last night, I believe it was. So much more. Seems like those teams are up and coming, and Lions and Clyde got to come ready to play every night.
So let's talk about the Wayne County League. Some of the other players that you face, especially maybe at the 2-guard guys that might be guarding you. Who are some of the toughest matchups that you'll face this season?
Well, I guard mostly guards, but then I have like forwards guarding me. But I've guarded the kid from Lions.
Hunter?
No.
Scott?
Damon Scott. Yep.
Damien Scott.
He's pretty quick. He's a good shooter.
He was sitting in that seat last week, actually.
I've guarded. I guarded DeSanto from Clyde.
Wow! Now, so there's a guy that you're giving up height to.
Yep.
And what's the strategy with him?
Basically just front him, try to throw it over the top, and have the help side help on that. And then Christine from Wolcott, I've guarded him too, sometimes.
What about this kid from Sodas, Ignacio Ruiz? You faced Sodas the other night. He had 17 to your 30. Were you matched up with him?
No. Our sophomore forward was.
So he's a transfer foreign exchange student, I think?
Yeah, I think he's a foreign exchange student from Spain.
And he's doing quite well. And Sodas was 4-4 heading into the game that they lost you last night. What's Ruiz' game like?
From what I've seen, he's skilled. He can handle it for his size pretty well. He gets his teammates involved. He was their best ball handler that I could see. He likes to get to the foul line. He can knock those down, and he can step out and shoot the 3 too.
Gotcha. So you're 4-4. So the two teams, you lost to Clyde and Lions. You get them both again. What, in your opinion, not really, or maybe something coach told you, or maybe hasn't even talked about it, but when you play those teams again, like the Lions game was a 1-point game, what do you got to do different against Lions next time you play them to kind of turn the tide?
Well, we just got to play better first half defense. The first half is really when we lost the game, but I think we were down 11 at half and then cut it. We lost, and we were leading in the fourth. By 4, I think, was our biggest lead. And then
Clyde was the opposite.
Yeah.
Good first half, and then they pull away in the second half. Clyde's a pretty intimidating team, to look at when you step out onto the court. That top 5 from even Turner, grabbing rebounds. You think about Bogans, DeSanto, and Faniel, and then you have a guy like Turner to deal with too. So what do you got to do different against Clyde next time? How did that game get away from you in the second half?
We just didn't hit shots. We ended up turning the ball over.
Was that something they were doing defensively, or just went cold?
No, I think we just went cold a little bit. They turned up their defense as well too, but we just went a little cold.
Okay. So who are you a Syracuse fan? Syracuse basketball fan?
Yep.
Yeah.
Nice.
Right. We get a lot of guys in here like our Duke fans. Especially I guess some kids from Lions were, but
well, you know where Jim Boeheim's from, right?
Yeah. Yep.
Lions, New York. Well, last year the guy we were talking about, Damien Scott, he's a Duke fan. He wears the same jersey that Jim Boeheim wears, that Jim Boeheim wore when he was in high school. I just go, if you're from Lions, you Lions guys that watch the Upstate Hoops podcast, you gotta go with the Cuse. You can't go with Duke if you're from Lions. Come on. But, Vert will step aside. We'll come back and recap all the action, in the leagues this week. We'll give our players of the week. I got a T-shirt for Jake because I think it was 2 or 3 weeks ago that he was our Upstate Hoops player of the week. So hang tight, and we'll be back in 60 seconds.
We hold on to the things that really matter. Welcome to Generations Bank.
Hi, I'm Jody Torrio. If you're like me, you've got stuff lying around the house that you want to recycle, but you're just not sure how, like broken toasters, vacuum cleaners, or microwaves. At Seneca Meadows, we have a drop-off for those. Bring in anything with a cord, and we'll make sure it's recycled properly through our partnership with 2TRG. It's that easy.
And welcome back to the Upstate Hoops podcast on FingerLakes1.com. Don't forget you can subscribe to this podcast, whether it's on iTunes or Stitcher.com if you want to listen to it. We're on YouTube. Subscribe on YouTube by searching for FingerLakes1.com and subscribe to the channel. And subscribe. We'll be there every week, whether you remember us or not. Or you can grab the FingerLakes1.com app in the Android or Apple, whatever the heck they call it over at Apple. The iStore, the iTunes Store, the Apple Store. The Google Play Store or the Apple Store. I think it's just the Apple Store. Either way, go grab the app. Okay, Verk, not an overwhelming amount of action this week. There were no games on Tuesday night, which is odd. Usually that's a big night in the Finger Lakes East, and it was kind of a limited schedule in the East. So let's start out with the Finger Lakes East, and Newark traveled to Minders in a must-win situation for them if they want to still contend with Geneva and Wayne atop the league, and really a game Minders needed to win. Minders needs to get a win here soon. But it was Newark 64-53, led by 16 from Micah Wright and 14 from Jamie Rosser. Luke Ruddy had 19 points and 10 rebounds, and Devin Verkey 17 points that game.
Yeah, I mean, that was a game where I wasn't able to make it to it, but from talking to people, it was, Minders was tied late in that game, and Newark was up 3 late, and Minders had a steal and ended up throwing it away. But, I think overall a better showing for Minders than they had the weekend before, against Lions and Clyde. Newark's a team who obviously comes in with a 6-2 record, and Minders kind of struggle a little bit, but maybe they can gain some confidence from that. Luke and Devin both had nice games. So if Minders can continue to build off that, they get Waterloo Friday night.
Followed by Mid-Lakes, I think. Yeah.
Waterloo Mid-Lakes, which is 2 games that Minders has to win, obviously, and both Mid-Lakes and Waterloo are both hungry for wins also, so they should be good battles.
And we got Newark on FL1 Sports on Friday night. Penn Yan at Newark, and Penn Yan's going to be a test. Penn Yan seems to be a pretty balanced team. They've got off to a pretty good start at.
That's tomorrow night.
Yeah, Friday night.
Okay.
I think it's 8, and I think they're 5-4. 5-4. Penn Yan. They lost an out-of-conference, out-of-league game last night to Bath Haverling, but it's going to be great to get in the gym at Newark. It's a nice place to watch a game and see what Penn Yan brings to the table, and it's a similar game to the Minders game. It's a game that people expect Newark to win, and they just can't stumble. And that'll be Brendan Harrington along with Tani Robinson making his debut on color commentator. Finger Lakes 1 Sports, and that game starts at 7:30. Speaking of Penn Yan, they had to go to Geneva, and Geneva's a nice measuring stick for anybody, and Geneva won pretty easy, 67-36 on Friday night, led by 18 points and 10 rebounds from Terrell Johnson and Stephen Dolgos and Akia Jackson with 13 each. Geneva now 8-1, the only loss out of league to Aquinas, and Austin Fingar 12, Ben Covert 10 there for Penn Yan, but Geneva rolling right along. I mean, who's going to beat Geneva this year in the Finger Lakes East? Are they going to run the table?
They got a good chance, no doubt. Newark had them on the ropes at Newark, so obviously now Newark's got to travel to Geneva, and maybe Wayne is the only other team who could possibly give them a loss, I think. But Coach Miller's got those guys playing great right now.
Well, Wayne beat Mid-Lakes by the same margin that Geneva beat Penn Yan on Friday night. It was a 63-32 game. Mike Hollenbeck, 22 points. George West with 12. And Mid-Lakes drops 2-6. Wayne 6-2. And then Pelmac picked up a win over Waterloo, 59-30 on Friday night, led by 26 points and 8 rebounds from Trevor Wagger. And then, as I mentioned earlier, Bath Haverling 76, Penn Yan 43. And one other game, the rematch of the Manlius Pebble Hill game out of Section 3 with Waterloo. This time Waterloo went to Manlius Pebble Hill, and it was a 53-36 win for Jeff Ike's Manlius Pebble Hill squad. Now moving to the West, probably the game of the week, Dundee Bloomfield. And Bloomfield wins 48 to 45 over Les Miller Scots. It was Alex Flattery with 18 points, 8 rebounds, Ty Kloss with 11 points and 4 steals, and Cole Hartman led the way for Dundee with 12. Their first loss. They now are looking up at Bloomfield in the standings.
Yeah, obviously we haven't seen Bloomfield play this year, but we saw Dundee play Romulus, and we were pretty impressed with them, big team. So Bloomfield obviously must have a pretty good team this year, and maybe somebody that Red Creek might run into in sectionals at some point, being that they're both in Class C1.
Now, Jake, do you follow any of these other C1 teams in these other leagues during the year? Do you look at the scores, or is it just too far in the future to even kind of to worry about?
Yeah, I definitely pay attention to other schools in our sectional bracket. I mean, you always got to be planning ahead and be ready, really.
Yeah, and you got some good ones in there in Bloomfield, and we talked about earlier, and Minders when they were hoping to improve their C1 team, and then of course you always got the potential in the state qualifying rounds in Class C to face a Lions or Clyde again, or a bunch of other team, Dundee.
Yeah.
So it's I love Class C. It's my favorite. So also in the West, it was Red Jacket 40, South Seneca 32, Marcus Whitman 70, HAC 52. It was Marion 66, Romulus 44. Marion picks up their second win of the season. I think both were against Romulus, actually. And then Dundee gets back at it Wednesday night with a good win over Naples, 57 to 36. Justin Brace had 17 there to lead the Scots. Cole Hartman with 12. Andrew Clark with 10. So Dundee back on the winning track at 9-1. Andrew Fleischman led the Big Green Machine with 14. And on Wednesday night, Red Jacket 67. Honeoye 38. Boy, what a change 1 year makes for Honeoye. Burke.
Yeah, obviously struggling a little bit this year. And, things, was it last year when things ended with all the crazy stuff?
The hazing incident, yeah.
And it kind of carried over into this year, apparently.
And it was 67-38 win for Red Jacket there. Nathan Jennings, 19 points. Bloomfield beats HAC on Wednesday night, 65-48. Alex Flattery with 12. And Hayden Ward, 11 points on 3 3-pointers for the Bombers. And then Marcus Whitman with a 12-point win over South Seneca, 57-45. Luke Shively, 26 points, 8 rebounds. Merritt Bailey, 7 points and 13 rebounds for the Wildcats. And for South Seneca, Cullen Morella, 11 points, leads the way. So, Whitman's 6-2 on the season.
Yeah, it's obviously, going to the West is a good move for them. They kind of been getting really beat up over in the East. So, they're getting over there and getting some confidence and getting some wins this year.
I think the irony of it, too, is that this Whitman team's probably the best one in a few years.
It seems like it. They beat Mid Lakes this year. And, we'll see.
And now moving over to Wayne County, we got big win for Clyde. Actually, pretty easy margin, 74-54 over North Rose Wolcott Saturday. It was a game that we were looking forward to because North Rose hadn't lost, Clyde hadn't lost. And, in the end, Cam DeSano, 26 points, Joe Faniel, 24 points, 5 threes. Just too much for Chris Deans, 19 points, 10 rebounds. Jake Stevenson, 13 points, 18 rebounds. So, man, a battle of bigs in this one. A lot of big guys on the court, I guess. A lot of rebounds.
Yeah, and, obviously North Rose came into the week undefeated. Now they're kind of hitting the meter of their schedule. They had Clyde. Then they also lost to East Rochester in a close game, and I think they got Lions coming up next. So, they're looking at possibly a 3-game losing streak after starting out 5-0, but you never know.
Yeah, it's almost too bad for Lions that they got them coming in. You'd think that they would win. North Rose might win one of those games in that stretch. So Lions don't want to sleep on North Rose. As we mentioned earlier, Red Creek with a win over Marion, 60-29 Saturday night. Jake over here had 22 points, 8 rebounds in that one. What do you make of Marion? There's another team that hadn't had a program for a few years.
I know it was at least one. They didn't have a varsity team. But, obviously, it's tough to go from having no varsity team to a varsity team, obviously, as, I'm sure Jake found out.
So, a lot of young guys on that Marion team?
Yeah, I think so. Their point guard is probably their better player, and I think he's a senior, though.
Okay. We got East Rochester over Williamson, 77-42 on Monday night. And then Lions plays the first half against Sodas, and they have a leaky roof. And they have to that was at the Atwood, I think, right?
Yeah.
Now they have a beautiful community center in Lyons with an NBA-sized court. It's a phenomenal facility, and I don't know what goes on over there, who makes these decisions and all, but maybe with the leak now, the roof's leaking. Maybe next year we see them play more games in the community center. I've heard rumors that maybe they were trying to get that Minders return game against Lions in the community center. But they did end up finishing the game on Monday. And DJ Long, 21 points. Damon Hunter, 17 points, 5 assists as Lions picks up the 63-46 win. Ignacio Ruiz, 15 points in that one. Red Creek, a nice test against Sodas, 57-41 on Wednesday night. That's a game that Jake went for 30 in. Lions comes back in the fourth quarter to actually win kind of easy down the stretch. I was talking to Coach Young. Down the stretch, they opened it up to about an 8-point lead, but they had to have a strong beginning of the fourth quarter, 58-52 win. They outscored them 23-15 in the fourth. Damon Hunter, 21 points. Damian Scott, 13 points, 5 assists. And DJ Long, 13 points, 13 boards, Verk.
Yeah. Nice.
He was
nice
in
job.
studio, and he doesn't look like the kind of guy that's going to get 13 boards, but he does, because somebody's got to do it on that team.
That's right.
It's always DJ Long, telling you. Then Clyde over Marion, 76-40, rounding out the action. Connor Kragos, 14 points, not enough for Marion, and Cam had 20.7 rebounds in that one. And Jared Faniel, 14, outscores his brother Joe, 13. Maybe got a little more garbage time in the second half of that one. So let's pick our players of the week. We've recapped all the action. I'm going with Luke Shively from Marcus Whitman. He had 19 points and 9 rebounds against HAC, 26 points, 8 rebounds against South Seneca, both wins. Marcus Whitman's Luke Shively is my player of the week.
Okay. Jake obviously had a nice week, but he's been player of the year, so we try to spread it around a little bit. So I was going to go with Alex Flattery from Bloomfield, just based on big win over Dundee.
Yeah.
Then he came back. They got 2 wins last week, and he was their leading scorer. So Alex Flattery is my player of the week.
2 from the FL West this week, Verk. That's not like us.
It's not.
Upstate Hoops player of the week wins FingerLakes1.com T-shirt. All you got to do if you want one is email us at upstatehoops@fingerlakes1.com with your T-shirt size and address, and we'll send it right out. Unless in the case of Jake, I've been promising him his T-shirt for like 3 weeks, but once I knew he was coming in, I figured I'd hold on to it. Jake, here you go. Congratulations.
Thank you.
On winning the player of the week a couple weeks ago. This week's it's Shively and Flattery. And now, Verk, power rankings. We pick the top 5 teams in the Wayne Finger Lakes League. Doesn't really mean anything. We don't really take into account different classes, but if we did a AP top 5 poll or whatever for the Wayne Finger Lakes, this is what it is. And I'm going to go first this week.
All right.
And I got Lions at 5, and I thought long and hard, or at least for 3-4 minutes, about putting Dundee there over Lions, even though they beat Bloomfield.
Lost to Bloomfield.
They only lost to Bloomfield, but so last week Dundee was 4, now Bloomfield's 4, and I got Lions 5, kept them there. Newark 3, Clyde 2, Geneva 1. It's been that way for me for a while at the top 3.
I got similar. I got Lions 5, and then I got Wayne still hanging in there at the 4 spot. I just think, I think if they played Bloomfield or Dundee, they would beat them. Mm-hmm. And then I got Newark 3, Clyde 2, Geneva 1.
Yeah, and Clyde hasn't lost a game, and they're 2. Geneva's lost 1. Of course, it was to Aquinas, but again, as we mentioned earlier, Geneva's set to maybe run the table in the East. I don't see them moving out of that top spot anytime soon.
No, I think, if they played any of the teams in the West, East, Wayne County, that they would beat them.
All right, well, let's take a quick look at the week ahead here. In the Wayne Finger Lakes Leagues on Friday nights, Mid Lakes at Geneva, Minders at Waterloo, a little rivalry game. Big game for Minders. I mean, Waterloo hasn't won a game yet this year. But it's a type of game where things can kind of go from bad to worse if you're Minders.
Yeah, you never know. Obviously, Waterloo's going to be fired up, and I think the difference maker there is going to be Ruddy for Minders. Waterloo doesn't have a real big guy inside the matchup with him, so Waterloo will have their hands full. But it's a game that you never know. You get on that big court in Waterloo, and maybe get some. The varsity girls are playing first, so you should have a pretty decent crowd. So you never know.
Yeah, it is kind of cool. The girls are playing first at 6, and the boys are playing at 7:30. Both varsity squads, and then we got that same doubleheader when they come to Minders. They're doing the same thing: girls first, boys second.
Right.
That's I don't have a date off the top of my head in that one, but
yeah, I don't think it's till February or something.
yeah,
so.
but Finger Lakes One Sports will be there. I think it's the 7th maybe, but that'll be a fun night. Basketball, girls and boys. Palmac at Wayne. And then I mentioned Penyannock and Newark tomorrow night, Friday night on Finger Lakes 1 TV at 7:30. Pre-game, they're going to honor 3 kids from the football team. I think Micah Wright might be one of them. But they had a successful football season this year, and they got a little pre-game ceremony. We're going to try to pick that up on the webcast as well. Red Jacket at Marcus Whitman, HAC at Romulus, South Seneca at Naples, ER at Sodus. Then there's that Lions North Rose Wolcott game. Keep an eye on. Red Creek at Gananda. Big game for you guys, Jake. We talk about how Gananda's tough. You guys, like I said, pulled the 500, and this is kind of where you figure out how you're going to shake out in these Wayne County standings. Is it a must-win game for you guys? Or
Yeah, it's definitely one that we'd like to have. Good confidence booster and get us over that 500 mark.
And what's the gym like in Gananda? I've never been there.
I like it.
Modern place?
Yeah,
or?
yep, yeah.
What's the most similar to of any of the other gyms that maybe we might have seen around here?
I'm not quite sure.
Is it like a field house place? Kind of
it's big, yeah.
Okay. And then we got Williamson and Marion. Rounds out Friday night's lineup. Saturday night, one game, Honeoye at Bloomfield. Last year, that was kind of like a huge battle. This year, we're looking for an easy Bloomfield win in that one. And then Tuesday night, Geneva at Palmac. You never know. Got to like the Panthers in that one, though. Minders at Mid-Lakes. Another tough second road game that Minders would expect to win, and we'll see if they can take care of business against Mason Jones and the Eagles. Newark at Waterloo. That game on Finger Lakes 1 TV Tuesday night. We'll get our second look at Newark and as many games on the webcast. And it'll be interesting to see if Waterloo can hang around with Newark. The nice thing about that matchup, though, is that Newark doesn't have a lot of size.
No, so. They're quick and athletic, but they're not real big, tall.
And Wayne at Penn Yan on Tuesday night as well.
Man, that's a hike for Wayne.
Yeah, Ontario, New York, all the way down to Penn Yan.
Yeah.
Bloomfield at South Seneca, Marcus Whitman at Honeoye, Naples at HAC, Romulus at Dundee, East Rochester at Lions, and that's another test. That's the thing. Last year we did these Wayne County scores and looked ahead, and now it seems like everyone's a tough game, especially for a team like Lions.
Sure.
Who doesn't have that size advantage, and they keep seeming to win.
Yeah.
Like I said, they're one of my favorite teams just in the fact that they always seem to have that underdog mentality. They pulled one out against Gananda last night. Now they got face North Rose Wolcott and East Rochester back-to-back. Gananda at Sodus, North Rose Wolcott at Marion, and Williamson at Clyde round out the action. You guys, on the 16th, you play again after playing Gananda. So you go at North Rose Wolcott on the 16th, and then home against Williamson. So, Jake, thanks for taking the drive down. Thanks for watching. You do watch this show, right, regularly?
Yep.
Well, we appreciate that. We'd like to get all the players on these. Now, if you're a player on one of these teams in the Wayne Finger Lakes, how do you not watch this show, right?
Yeah, I know.
Right?
Yeah, I have the app and everything.
Anybody else on the team watch?
I'm not sure. I know our coaches do, though.
Well, if you let them score more points, we'll start talking about them. Right now, it's always Jake Slobe. And you were doing it last year as a sophomore, too. It's your junior season.
Mm-hmm.
Good luck the rest of the way.
Thank you.
And, of course, we'll probably have you back in here next year for your senior season. Maybe we'll get a Red Creek webcast in. Now, Vert, check this out. If you're playing Red Creek in soccer, you're playing the Red Creek Mules if you play Red Creek in basketball, you're playing the Red Creek Rams. What the heck's up with that, Jake? You guys got an identity crisis over there in Red Creek?
I have no idea what that is. It's been around forever.
Huh.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, it's kind of weird. And yeah. It is just soccer. Is it boys and girls soccer, the Mules?
Yep. Yeah,
And
the boys are mules, and then the girls are lady mules.
Lady Mules, huh? That's kind of a nice thing to call a girl.
Well, when you come back in next year, I want to know why that is, okay?
Yeah,
All
do a
right.
little homework. Write a little report or an essay for us on that. But thanks, Jake. Appreciate it. And like I
Thank
said,
you.
good luck the rest of the way.
Thank you for having me.
That about wraps it up for this week's edition of the Upstate Hoops podcast. Thanks again to Jake for stopping in and making the drive down from Red Creek. For our live viewers, we'll be back live at 10 o'clock Eastern with Brad Connor for the Upstate Orange podcast, where we'll talk about 2 more Syracuse wins and preview Saturday's game against North Carolina in the Dome Verk. That I'm going to say right now is going to be a blowout victory. So thank you for joining us on the Upstate Hoops podcast. For my co-host Matt Berkey, producer Jeremy Hunt, I'm Jim Sinacropi. See you next week.
See you later.